scene, it can just be eliminated. Because we are just dragging our feet through that motherfucker, and it just doesn't make any goddamn sense. Honestly. It really doesn't. It serves really... The purpose is it's supposed to be the big, here you go, moment, and then send off on the mission. Well, where are the keepers? I thought they were in this intermediary realm. How many intermediary realms are there?
We're having some tough times trying to figure all this shit out. What time is it? It's like... It is 7 in the morning. We've been up for a couple hours now. Just trying to think about how I'm going to approach today. I have some, sometimes what I'll do, as you can see on the video, I have record myself talking through issues or about scenes or about characters, whatever the fuck it is, right? To try to see if I can talk my way through it, you know, because I don't got anyone to bounce this off of, you know. No one knows what's happening. I'm alone. So I just kind of do that, and I make a lot of mental notes, and I kind of feel like I'm getting to a point where you know, like I might, I think I know what to do, but I lack the confidence in it. So, but I was actually looking into, I got a book coming in the mail, Táin Bó Cúailnge. I don't know how if that's even close to how you pronounce it, but it's an Irish mythology story. I got it pulled up here. Translates roughly to the driving off of the cows of Cooley, commonly known as the Táin, or less commonly as the cattle raid of Cooley. It's an epic Irish myth. It's the Irish Iliad, essentially, and I did not know any of this, and so I ended up getting this book. But here's the thing I wanted to talk about. Here's the thing. Is I have not read anything about it. I know zero to little about it, but the one thing I do kind of know is as to kind of do, I think, with a bull, a prized bull of this guy's, Cooley, well, maybe it was his name, I don't really know yet. It's very unknown to me, but I'm going to get to a point. Anyway, it has to do with this bull, and it's like this chick wants it, this queen or something, and then there's a whole battle and a war and all this shit fought for this animal. Okay. Well, the weird thing is, as I'm writing book 2 here, I'm in a section that kind of, in my mind, evokes this Celtic, if you want to call it that, Irish vibe, maybe. And I had this character who was a bull man named Torin, and this thing's Táin. Táin. Now Táin is spelled T-A-I-N, but I think because the A is in the middle, it becomes it's Irish. I don't know. I'm really just getting to the Irish mythology stuff, so I'm not like going to be the person to come to about this shit. But it just was really weird when I heard about this, the Táin, and then like Torin and this story that unraveled there, and I bought the book. I'm going to read it because I think it's the inspiration that I need for certain chapters that I'm going to be approaching. And that's the kind of thing I want to talk about a little bit is, you know, I've I've mentioned a bit of like what influences the story. I mentioned a bit about like the things that you're invested in, the things that you find interesting, or the stories that you want to hear, you know, that all kind of comes to a head when you're making your own. But what I continuously notice, to me, are strange similarities to ancient mythology or some old stories that that have been passed down, like folklore or whatever the hell else there are, you know. I've been noticing a really strange connection in all of this, and I find it to be a bit weird. And so, as I've been looking into it, it's like, okay, there's only so many stories in the world, sure. we repeat the same stories over and over again. Okay, why? Well, maybe it's because there's certain archetypes in the world. Okay, why? Well, I'm thinking maybe there was an original story that did happen and that we keep continuously repeating over and over and over again. And as I'm trying to unravel my own story, I'm trying to unravel my own life. I'm trying to unravel my own heritage and where I come from and all the things about me as a person and my family and my culture and stuff. But because I grew up in apparently this country called America, that qualifies me as an American. I guess. I don't feel like one, it's whatever to me. I don't really have a patriotism. I don't give a fuck about that kind of stuff, you know. I'm a little bit ashamed of being an American in a sense, but not because of like what they did to the Native Americans or not because of what we did to the Mexicans. And it's not that. No, that doesn't bother me. The things that bother me, I don't know. It's just, I don't feel it here. Like, I don't have any national pride. You know, I don't feel proud of the founding fathers. I don't care about the Civil War and shit. And it just, nothing really, I don't know. Just don't care about it. It doesn't mean shit to me. I'm just kind of like, whatever. It's nothing. The things that I'm really proud of are where my family comes from, off of this fucking continent. Back in Ireland and England, we'll just say Britain as a whole because they come from a few places, and Scandinavia. Like, that's kind of where my family comes from. That's what I'm fucking proud of. I want to know more about that shit. That means more to me, you know, like where I actually come from, not where I went to. And it echoes a lot of certain stories of Ireland as well, as like these people, at least their mythologies would say, that they came to Ireland. They approached this place and tried to live there, and there's many invasions that happened on that little island, and I kind of feel like that too, but there's a home that I miss, you know. And because I've been kind of looking into that, I've been doing a lot of research about like culture and heritage and stuff, and I'm learning about the Aryans, and I'm learning about the Scythians and like the Aryans and all that, and kind of the subverted history shit like that I don't want to talk about, and then it starts clicking together, and I think the Aryan people, you know, this great race of people that kind of created the world as we know it in a sense, that have been written off as culturally, you know, I don't know. There's a whole thing about it. You know, they call them Iranian people and stuff like that, just so you can kind of get that off the trail. And there's this whole goddamn thing going on. But from like the Scythians' perspective, for instance, all the way from like what became, I guess you could consider them the Germanic people, all the way over to like the western side of China, like they influenced all that, all the way down to India and stuff. Like this culture of people that I can descend from, most likely, did all that, and it made me super proud. I'm like, finally, I have a fucking past to be proud of. And so, as I'm learning this stuff, I'm realizing, I should say, the connections of in this book, like the people that my characters got to kind of get involved with, the people that he comes from, are these great groups of people that have been subverted or have been hidden or like lied about, you know, and archaeology says this really happened, like that kind of shit. I'm noticing it's happening with my character as well, and it feels right. It really does. It's like kind of growing up in America, being a white person in the country, I'll say that because I don't know what it's like to live in a city. You don't feel like anything. There's nothing to be proud of, you know? Like, you go to a church, it just feels like some generic bullshit. You go to anything, there is no culture that's good, you know? And like, I just don't like it. It doesn't feel right and stuff. I remember I complained about that funeral with my cousin. Like, it didn't feel right. Felt like we were missing something. Like, we don't have much of a culture here, and it sucks. And I'll sit down sometimes and I'll think, like, man, I don't like how we're all mixing in America. I don't really like that because it's making everything foggy. And I don't know if it's necessarily mixing. I think it's because we're mixing into the kind of Phoenician-y, weird Jewy, like, umbrella of like, oh, like you're mixing into being consumers so we can make money off of you, like that shit. That's what it feels like that's happening in this country. We're just basically like cattle, you know. And it doesn't matter how they mix. I want to make money off of them equally. They're equal in how much they owe me, you know, equality. And so that's all I feel here, and I just don't like it. And I just kind of want to go back to our own individual cultures, like we should. I think because we're so lost here, and it's going into Europe as well. Like, you know, the mixing happening in Europe. It's just like it's destroying everything, you know. And I just don't like it. I don't know if someone might not like hearing that, but whatever. Fuck it. It's true. It's just not something that I'm willing to. I just don't. It doesn't feel right to me. Something about it feels really wrong. I don't think you're supposed to do that. So that's the kind of shit that's been really bugging me. And so, like, trying to look for a source of self, because that's what it boils down to. I'm like, well, then who the fuck am I and where do I come from? Where exactly do I come from? And like I said, I did that DNA ancestry thing, and it said, what? I don't remember. It's like 31% Irish and then 41 English, and then this much Welsh, this much Scottish, you know, like smaller numbers, and it all adds up. And a little bit of Scandinavian. And so it's like, I see that, and then it actually showed me, like, oh, by the way, you have Irish in you? Guess what? We found exactly where you come from in Ireland. And it's down in Munster, on the Berea Peninsula. Somewhere around that area. And I was like, that's so crazy. And I was able to trace that that's my mother's paternal side. So because my mother's paternal side and my father's maternal side are both Irish, that's why I got so much of it. You know what I mean? I don't have as much of the, like, for instance, my brother and my cousin both have German in them. Germanic, because of probably the Saxons, most likely. Well, I have zero. I have no German in me, so it means I'm more Irish and Briton than I am Germanic. And so there's something about the DNA mixing that's a little bit more less Saxon angle and all that shit. There's Viking, Irish, and probably like Breton, not Breton. What would they have been called? The Britons, the people that were native, the Celts there and shit. Apparently, maybe I have more of that going on. I don't fucking know. I can't prove any of that, but it does feel kind of right, you know. Like, I never really liked the Saxons or the Angles. I fucking don't like that shit. I hate them so fucking much. You know, anytime I learn in history or see it, I would always root for the, feudally, but I'd root for the Britons, or I'd root for the Welsh, or the Irish, you know, or the Scots when the fucking stupid goddamn English were trying to take over. Like, I fucking hate England, you know what I mean? Like, there's a part of me that doesn't like that Norman, Saxon English. I fucking just despise them. I really do. But the baker in me derives from, what is it, East Anglia region of England. So the Saxony, the Baker Saxon that I have just by name is from that area. So it's like my heritage also goes to the place I don't like, and it fucking irritates me, man. You know, I've already talked about how I don't like Romans, but because what I feel from that is very much the same as probably a Native American would feel about their culture. How much it was destroyed because of Americans. Or how an African would feel about their culture because how it was destroyed by Americans. Or how anyone that could feel about the Romans. You know what I mean? Or the English. These invading fucking people wiped out my shit. Hell, you could even say things like Christianity. Just wiped out everything. It is very irritating. And like I feel the same way. Like I want to connect with my heritage. I don't want to connect with fucking Roman shit or Saxon shit or stupid fucking Christianity bullshit where they destroyed all this religion so they could say they'll believe this. Like I feel the same way, you know. Just kind of like trying to find some realness, man. Like it's like you're living in a dream and we're all waking up from it. And each person plays their own game, but the reality situation is we want to know who we are. That's what we really are struggling with as people. Like, who the fuck am I? Where do I even come from? You know? And like, that's the main proponent, that's the main theme, story of my book. He's like, who are you and where do you come from? And what's important? And what have you missed? And what has been like lied to? What kind of lies have you been told? And that's like the whole element of the book, is just unraveling all this shit of all these lies over the years that you never knew that you were being lied to. Because that's how I feel too. And the reason I'm bringing all this up is just because how life can influence your writing and stuff, and like how you write what you know is the line. Well, if you don't know things, you're going to start searching for it, and it's going to happen in your writing. As I'm floundering through this, as I'm listening to myself trying to figure out these scenes, figure out these chapters, the whole time I'm just being reminded of like, you are trying to find yourself. You are trying to find you inside of the world that you live in. And you feel cultureless. You feel like you don't have one, and you feel lost because of it. You know, I have a lot of struggles with spiritual elements. I don't have anywhere to go for that. Every time I have this spiritual like struggle, I'm like, where do I take this? I don't want to talk to a priest. Because they're just going to give me that. And don't sell me that, man. Like, help me spiritually. Stop selling me fucking junk. That's how I feel about it. You know, long ago, the old gods fought. And the only two that rose are the Jewish one and the Christian one and a couple others. And they're vying for this world. Oh, man. I want to know about the ones that were turned into angels. Remember my whole Finding the Pagan Gods Theologies series? I've been doing that off camera a bit. That's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to find the real shit, man. Who are the forgotten gods? Because I feel it, man. Every time I work on this book, every time I'm writing, every time I'm doing that, I feel like I'm doing something that's helping this. That's capturing a mythology in this time. So in the future, when they read it, it can help be the gateway. Because to me, when you read mythology, when you read folklore, or anything like that that kind of falls into the realm of like, I don't think it really happened. I think it's blown out of proportion. It's actually, it's a story that was created during a time. And it's not so much on the nose, but it captures every single element that really happened and put it into a fantasy realm in a sense, or a realm of non-reality, because it becomes a doorway. It becomes a way to enter so that you can come to this place in time and unravel it in a way that it's like a picture. It's like a written picture of time. That's what I'm trying to do with my book. I'm trying to capture this very moment in time that we're living in, and then how I felt during it. And then it'll slowly go to other people. So you can always, like, we can look back at this and not get the rhetorics. You know what I mean? Like the Romanized version of the past, or right now, like what the Americans say, or what the gay community says was going on, or you know what I mean? Like people that have agendas. It's how you get past the agenda shit. Because our problem now is, like, looking back at history, it's by the victors. You can't really look at that. You have to look at the mythology. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. It's so, like, my book is so wrapped up in the idea of mythology and what the fuck's that word? Metaphor, and like, how would I word that? If you read the book 1, and you'll read book 2 and the subsequent ones, if you really fucking pay attention, and you really use your brain and just analyze what you're reading, it helps you kind of paint the picture of what might be really going behind the scenes. But you have to read it intelligently. Like, don't read it like some fucking loser that's like, I just want to be entertained. Like, well, then you're not going to get nothing. You have to read it kind of, not even say scholarly, but just a little bit aware. And you'll see it that in the book that I'm writing that it's doing that. And I'm trying as hard as I can to make like my, what am I going to say? We already sound crazy enough, so who cares? My inspiration was always the Odyssey, the Iliad, the Bible. I'm learning about New Celtic mythology, so that's kind of inspiring me too. But great stories from time, that's always inspired me. That's what I want to make. I want to make another Bible. I want to make another Odyssey. I want to make another book that encompasses a group of people in a group of time with a grand mythology that teaches you stuff. You know, it teaches a culture thing. So if you read the Bible, as I'm kind of doing, I'm noticing like, this is for Jews. None of this makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Like, it's great and grand and all that stuff, but as I'm reading and hearing about things and audio listening, I'm like, this is just like for Jews. You don't need to be blamed for anything, you know, like when you ask a Jew about like redemption and dying for like sins and all that. Well, sins are washed away a different way. Like, it just, you know what I mean? Like it's their thing, and I don't want it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's every time I try to read it, it's something about it just doesn't feel right. And the Christianity one doesn't feel right either. It's just they feel like when I touch it, I'm like, I don't know. This isn't for me. This is for other people. Well, I want to make one for people like me. I want to make these stories that make sense and have some sort of meaning. And so because I'm doing that, it's like I have to like, I don't know. I don't just sit down and calmly like churn her out. It's like driving deep into the core of myself. Like, as I'm doing research about the Celtic mythology, Irish mythology, as I'm doing research about where I come from, I'm absorbing that into myself, and I'm building myself up on the inside. And then every time I write, I have to take that away from that to put it into here. Because I kind of, like that voice said when I meditated, I'm a conduit. So I'm trying to take information in and kind of discern it my own way and then put it into the book. So it's channeling through. At the head of that, I don't know. I always say it's God. I don't know. Because shit'll hit me. It's like, I'm stuck at this section. And all of a sudden a piece of paper will be like, here, read this. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. And then I'll get going. Like, that always happens that way. Maybe not instantly, but eventually it does. Like, the certain shit'll hit me. Like that bull thing I was telling you about. I'm stuck with a scene about a bull man. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's like, hey, there's an Irish mythology that centers around the idea of a bull. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, okay, well, I have to read this now, and I have to uncover what that means, because that's exactly what's got to go into the book. So, the story of Taun will be seen in book 2. I can't help but do that. It's like, at the end of the day, when you're looking for something, you'll find it. It's all about how you interpret it and your tools that you have. And I don't have a lot of good tools. I am not a very intelligent person. I struggle with intellect. So it hinders me. It makes things harder. It makes me look at books more than read them all the time. I'll just stare at books and be like, oh, wow, that's awesome. And I'll just look at them like, did you read any of them? No. I don't want to. You know, like, I struggle with that shit. I struggle with working. I struggle with trying to every day want to look at words and unravel things and study. I fucking hate doing it so much, and I don't wanna. I struggle all the time with all that shit. It is bothersome because it hinders me, man. Like, I wanna do this shit, and I feel like there's some sort of thing in me that's not wanting me to do this. And not something natural either. Probably something in the fucking water, you know? Like, I'm tired of it. I'm trying to just unravel this fucking story. It's just interesting. It really is. And that's the kind of thing I wanted to bring up. This long ramble, whatever the fuck we call this video. I'm trying to find self, man. I'm trying to find my heritage. I'm trying to find my God so that I can do justice to it. And when I've read the Odyssey and I read some of these Irish mythologies and listen to other ones on audiobook, because that's not reading, it's something about those that feel much more natural to me than trying to pick up the fucking New Testament and reading it. I'm sorry, like, I just, this is how it feels. That book doesn't feel right. I don't know the intent of that, and I don't trust the intent of that. You know, the umbrella of Christianity in my mind is too shady to fucking trust. The stuff that they did to cultures, the stuff that they did with the wars and all that. And I'm not saying the Jews and the Muslims are any better. I think they're worse. I just think I don't trust that. It feels like there's a God that I don't know if he's mine or not, that wants all that to happen. Because the giant story of my book are the world that the characters take place in. There's gods vying for power in it. Because that's how it fucking feels. When you just look at religion, objectively, you know, or subjectively, you take yourself away from it all, and you look at religion, you can see different gods fighting for power. This God wants to destroy that one. I mean, look at the fucking story of what Yahweh and in the Canaanite shit. Look at his rise to power and the destruction of all the little gods. Look at the story of the Exodus. The destruction of the Egyptian gods. Like, you can't fucking see that? What's going on? It's a war that's happening in the clouds, if you want to call it that. It's bigger than that. They're probably not even gods. They're just lesser beings to something higher. And that's what my book's about. These strange beings that are fighting over this world while we're in the middle of this conflict. And they need us because they need our power. They need us to charge them through worship. If you're in my mind, you grant me power. It's the same concept behind any sort of emotion, which is why I think emotions are spirits. Because any kind of emotion you give power to, you know, like if you're mad at something and you dwell on it, it grows. That's why they say, like, don't let them win when they hurt your feelings or they're assholes to you. They want to fight. Because they're getting in your mind and they won. You have to let the right spirits win. That's separate, that's over here. But the gods are doing that shit too. And I'm trying to find the right one. And so far, the closest I've come is that goddamn shape-shifting deer who was that threshold barrier. I felt it, man. He was right there. And from that point, we are in the unknown, and I'm just trying to find the creator. The one that created my people, where I come from. Is that crazy? Probably to a lot of people, maybe. You know, I don't know. Fuck them at the same time, because what do they know, right? Like, well. But that's it. That's why I write. You know?